welcome back to our channel. I'm Cassidy.
I'm Becca.
I'm Anna.
And we're the TriHards Girls. This week, we're doing a movie review, people. Last week, Anna posted a few options on our Instagram. Follow us at the TriHards Girls. It's her week, so I'm going to pass it off to Anna to introduce the two movie options.
Thank you, Cassidy, for handing it off to me. Yes, we had a poll up on our Instagram. Both movies were from Amazon Prime. Movie one was I Met a Girl, and then Chemical Hearts with Lili Reinhart, and we love Lili Reinhart. I mean, hello, Riverdale. And according to all of you, you guys wanted us to watch Chemical Hearts. So that's what we did, and that's why we're here. So let's get started.
Speaking of Lili Reinhart, she is not the typical Riverdale cheerleader that you guys all think of. In this movie, she wears baggy pants, has her hair up in a ponytail the whole time, and it's just a totally different character than you would imagine. And to be honest, she really did a good job in the beginning. I thought of like embodying that character. I totally didn't see her as like, you know, the Riverdale
Miss Betty Cooper.
Oh yes, Miss Betty Cooper, iconic.
So this film, I think we should say really quick, was based off of a novel called
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's called Our Chemical Hearts by British author Crystal Sutherland. And yeah, they adapted it into film this year, and Lili Reinhart is actually one of the producers of the film.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really cool. We love a female producer.
We do.
We do. All right, so then the movie opens, and it's Lili. Okay, for me, before I start, I didn't know anything about this movie. I never saw the trailer, so I was blind pressing play. So
Same.
I have to like say that.
I kind of love that.
As I'm writing stuff down, or like as I was thinking about the movie or what I was going to say during this, it's very apparent that I had no idea what the movie was about. Okay, not continue. So the first scene, she's walking with a limp and has a cane, and I don't remember the exact moment, something that was said or like a scene, but the first thing I wrote down was car accident ? Thinking like, okay, she must have gotten in a car, but it wasn't explicitly said yet. But there was like some type of hint where I'm like, did she get in a car accident? And the second thing I kind of wrote was when we were introduced to Henry's family, I was like, oh, his family looks like a really good, healthy family. And I enjoyed the banter they were having in the kitchen.
Yeah, they were kind of like the quote unquote perfect mom and dad, you know?
Yeah.
My second comment, Becca, that I wrote down was very confused about this car.
Yeah, it was weird.
It will have a large role. So, and it did. It definitely did. And Becca hit the nail on the head.
We later found out that Lili Reinhart was involved in a car accident that not impaired her, but that resulted in her.
It kind of impaired her.
No, because she could still walk. Yes, so she got injured, and she used to be a track star. So yeah, she was rocking that cane.
She was rocking that cane. But I will say that from the very beginning, you know that something is going to go down between them two. They're both in the office. He wants to be the editor-in-chief of his newspaper. She's in there too. He's like, who's this girl? And they go in the principal's office together, and he announces that they're going to be co-editors-in-chief, which we love a woman and editor-in-chief as well. And immediately she's like, no, I don't want to be editor-in-chief. He felt weird. He missed his bus. Long story short, they have to walk home together because they basically live in the same direction, and that's where the story begins. They build this relationship off of like this walk, and then she offers to drive him. Then he obviously drives the car to his house. They get out, he hands her the keys, and she literally just walks away. And that's when I was like, I'm very confused about this car. Like, okay, she's going to drive in a car, but she won't drive the car. It just was confusing me. Later, he noticed that someone kept picking up the car, driving it home. Whoever it was, her dad, whatever.
Can I just say, I don't understand why after the first ride home and he realized what's going on and then she ends up walking back home herself, not driving the car home, why would he then go and ask for a ride home the next day? Like,
he wanted to see her.
That is so rude. Like, drive me home, but you walk the distance. Like, no.
Chivalry is dead.
Yes. But seriously, I was so mad. I was like, why would you make her walk, especially when it's hard for her? It made me so mad.
I can't believe she walked so much, even with her knee or her leg the way it was. That would be more frustrating.
Yeah, but I think she's just so stubborn and determined that she wants to get better. She's trying to push herself. Like, there's that one scene where we see her in the track fields. That scene for me, Lili Reinhart killed me. Like, my heart was breaking for her Like, I thought she did a really good job there.
Jumping off of how, like, he kept asking for a ride, he was kind of a little stalkerish. I don't know if any of you saw that. Like, it was kind of weird.
It was beyond weird. It was not okay.
Like him, like, sneaking around corners.
And never ended up, like, presenting that he was there. Full on, you, stalker, not okay. Honestly, I was like, what are we teaching teens these days? It's okay to stalk her if you like her. I was so mad, and honestly, it changed the rest of how I viewed the movie. It was so intense, so obviously pro stalking. Like, that is not how you get a girl to like. You don't find out about them through stalking them. Yeah, it was gross. It was a no from me.
I mean, I feel like I think the whole premise of this movie is just like young love, and like when you're a teenager, everything's just over the top and dramatic, and everything's like the worst thing that's ever happened to you in your life. And for us as adults now, I feel like it might be an exaggeration and we see it differently, but I feel like maybe as a teen, if I would have seen it, I probably would have like loved this movie a lot more. I don't know. I'm not saying what he did is okay. His character is just a very like hopeless romantic. He sees his parents that were high school sweethearts, and he's like never had a girlfriend. And so here's this girl that he's like attracted to and is kind of showing him some like interest. But yes, that doesn't mean it's okay to go to the cemetery and try to find out why she's going there in the middle of the night, or a friend texting, you know, him to go to the track and field.
Yeah, he also had his friends looking out where she is. Like, that's creepy. Always having tabs on you.
Multiple times.
Okay.
Yeah,
multiple times people texted him and was like, hey, your girl's doing this, your girl's doing that. Like,
and it wasn't like they were out in a public. It was like a she just left her house type of text. Like, that's different.
Yeah, Anna, jumping off of what you said about like how high school is like the hardest time of people's lives because you're just like trying to find yourself. Mm-hmm. The only quote I wrote down during the whole thing was when she looked at him and said like they were talking about the newspaper and one of the stories that they were gonna. Yeah, when she goes, being young is so painful. It's almost too much to feel. That literally is how I feel like a lot of high schoolers feel. You just feel so like unsure about yourself and about everyone around you. You're just trying to like make the most with what you have.
I will say, like, I found myself thinking a lot about our past experiences in high school, how it's like the most dramatic, not dramatic, but it's just like there's so many emotions, so much to feel, and it's like
you are like only thinking about yourself too. Like, high school's the definition of you are the main character.
Yes. TikTok.
The editorial script at the end, I thought it was so good, and I agreed. When you're thinking about, I feel like I do this now that I'm older, like who's walked here before me, who's, you know, we all go through these same experiences from like kids to adults. Like, everyone has those same experiences, and it's weird to think about, you know, where we went to high school, for example. All the generations before us that also went there walked the exact same walls as us. I don't know. I really liked his big editorial manuscript thing at the end. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, I really liked the what was it? Because they were in charge of the newspaper. And was it for the yearbook, for the newspaper, the theme that they decided, the teenage limbo?
I think it was the final newspaper.
Yeah, that was a really cool theme.
Yeah.
Like, even like everything from like the text, the background being like the brain, like pictures of the brain throughout like the stages of adolescence. Like, I thought that was very interesting. Another thing that I really liked was the music, like, which was super like 80s indie. Like, I really liked the music soundtrack. Another quote that really stuck to me was kind of going off of what you said, Becca. Adults are just scared kids who are lucky enough to make it out of limbo alive. When I heard that kind of stuck with me. I'm like, oh my God, that kind of caught me in my feels. I ain't gonna lie.
Dude, this entire movie, I'm not even kidding. I wrote, this is in caps, such in, and then I went back to Anna movie, our little dark, artsy, hopeless romantic. It was literally, of course you picked this movie. Like, it was such a you movie. This type of genre of movie, I feel like this type of movie needs its own genre because it's something like teen, brooding, angsty, philosophical romance or something. Like, it needs its own genre. And honestly, just saying, some honorable other mentions would be All the Bright Places, which we did cover, so go listen. But also like Fault in Our Stars and stuff like that.
I'm sorry.
Dude.
Everybody knows I'm a hopeless romantic and I can't help it, okay?
Dude, totally. So, as you guys all know already, they become boyfriend, girlfriend, basically. I don't know if they ever put a title on it. So, the person that was in the car crash with her, spoiler alert, was her ex-boyfriend.
Fiance.
Oh, it was a fiance?
Yeah, because
No.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
Her
because
fiance? How old was she?
right, that's what I said.
She said it later. She only mentioned it, I think it was like once when she was in that dress.
That koi pond was really, really weird. Did anyone else think that too?
Extremely. Yeah. And also another thing they're teaching teens, trespassing.
No, they like go into this really dark, like,
I'm kidding on that one, obviously.
Well, it's kind of true. They go into this like dark house, and then he finds her when he's stalking her. He finds her in this back room, and she is like walking into this pond full of koi fish, but it's like a dirty ass pond.
It's like an abandoned building.
Disgusting. I'm like, why are you gonna get in there with your full clothes on? That's so weird.
It was symbolic. She was trying to get rid of the old, trying to.
Anna giving explanations to everything.
I completely understand. Like, I also was like, I would not get in there. That's fucking gross. You don't know what chemicals.
I was gonna say you would never get in that.
Oh hell no! I'd be like, let's take pics. It's so artsy.
She said the chemicals. Okay, sorry. Quickly jumping back when we were talking about her, now I know, fiance. So she was obviously so emotional still about him. And I did write down, like, man, she is really emotional, because when finally one day they were walking home and she was like, hey, can I come inside to meet your family? When like every other time she didn't want to do that. And honestly, it took a lot for her to do anything that he asked her to do. But finally he went to inside of his house and they go up to the room. She gets close to him. They're literally about to kiss, like lip touching lip. And then she hears a song that's playing in the background. And it's one of the songs that he heard her playing in the car, or hears her playing in the car all the time. And she got super upset. And I was like, oh my God, you went from like literally such a sensitive, serious moment to like running out the door. And it ended up being a song that was her and her fiance.
Yeah. The second I heard that song play when they were on the bed, I was like, shit. And I saw her reaction. I'm like, don't tell me this was their song. And I'm like, and now that's why she's freaking out. Because she's like an onion. Like, she's like peeling every layer. He's finally like getting to know her. And then she runs off and it's like, don't talk to me. And then she's like, I love you. Don't talk to me. I love you.
Literally.
There were a lot of scenes where she got really emotional and I was like, wait, what happened? What is going on? Obviously it gets explained, but I don't know. She was a very interesting character to me, and it was different than we normally see, I feel like, in this kind of a character, because she would be going in and out of like happiness and sadness, and she'd be super okay but then super not okay, which I feel like normally these movies, it's like a slow progression to where then they're okay, where this one had a lot of like ups, downs, up, downs, up, downs, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I will say another of the things I liked about this movie where like some of the shots were actually really pretty. Not like all the right places, I think, was shot a lot better. Like the cinematography was just chef's kiss. But I mean, this one I feel like did an all right job. They love their close-ups in this movie, I feel like. But it makes it more intense and more intimate, and that's just something I appreciated.
One other criticism, and I don't know if you guys would agree with me, but I feel like there just wasn't enough props.
For a second, I didn't even register what you were saying. I'm like, were there not? And I'm like trying to think in the movie.
Becca's like, what?
And then there's me literally looking at you like, you freaking little bitch.
No, but on the real, okay, from one like intense scene, obviously, to another, the sex scene. Yes, kids, there's a sex scene in this teenage angsty movie. And that was very intense. And I felt like she kind of took on like a more maternal role for him instead of like
a lover. She was like just sitting on the bed like, oh, honey, like, do you have a condom? Like that. You know what I mean?
Come to mama, I'll teach you.
Yeah, it definitely gave me a maternal vibe.
I do like how, yes, I totally agree with you, but I feel like that was also filmed like, it was kind of awkward, you know what I mean? And I feel like it kind of makes it more realistic in a sense, where it's not.
No, I thought he did a great job of like,
I
thought
definitely
he did
thought
a
it was
great
really realistic for a first time.
Yeah.
And then when he like kisses her scars, I was like, oh, I was like, baby. Also, I love him in Euphoria, and I'm so excited for season 2 because I want him and my girl Barbie cat. I'm excited for that.
But speaking of her maternalness, I don't even know if that's a word, but she told him, she like whispered in his ear and said like, don't try to be good at it. And kids, that's the best advice you could ever get. Honestly, don't try to be good at it. You're never going to be good at it until you have practice. Okay? You're welcome.
Cassidy's Advice Corner. Ding.
Okay, I do want to talk about one relationship that I was super here for. And that relationship was between Henry and his older sister. I really liked their relationship. I felt like it was really authentic because even in the moment when she started to break down and we found out like why she's back home and all that kind of stuff, I felt like it was really real. I feel like in most situations, like younger brothers, especially, they had a pretty big age gap, don't know what to do. But I feel like him going over and just putting his hand on her shoulder was just something that was, I don't know, real. It wasn't this fake, oh my God, we're so super close siblings and I know everything about you and you know everything about me. And, you know, that movies usually put on, or the opposite where they're totally at differences. And then later when she's helping him, there's the big fight that happens between our two main characters. And I really liked how she also was sliding in some education for us. And we totally learned the biology and whatnot behind when you go through a heartbreak and when you're in love. And that was so interesting to me.
Very
so
interesting. That's such a good point, Becca. Like literally their relationship was very real. And like you said, when she first walked in and was kind of having a little anxiety attack, at first he was like, should I get mom? Should I get mom? And then he kind of like grew into being a little bit more supportive for her. And I thought that was really cool to see. Little brothers are the best. We all have the same little brother.
Yes. Love you, Mason. Little brother.
Love you, baby.
Little brother. There you are.
The only Mulan I'll actually ever watch and will stand. Go watch our last episode of our Sit and Sip to figure out what we're talking about. Link down in the bio. Another weird thing was like, this is when I knew that she was really going through it. The fact that she lived in her ex's room. And didn't change anything. She wore all his clothes. And I was just like, oh my God, this movie's not just like a coming of age. It's like really about grief too. And I'm like, damn, she's really going through it. And that kind of just switched it a little bit for me at least.
Dude, yeah, that part was intense. And I honestly didn't see that coming at all. I didn't think that was his parents. Remember when they get there and her mom's there for some reason and then her mom leaves? And I was like, oh, she must just live with her dad. But then when he went over there, quote unquote dad was like, oh yeah, this is my wife. And then I was like,
Honestly started to get thinking like maybe she lived there, but I was not expecting her to be the full living in his room, wearing the clothes, that full on extent. But there was a moment where I'm like, I wonder if she's living with his parents because it was all weird about her living situation. But I feel like that scene was really, really weird. I mean, it was so awkward watching when she was pretending it was her ex for a minute. Like, it made me so uncomfortable. And the conversation and I don't know, it made me so uncomfortable.
And I totally agree. It made me uncomfortable in the sense, and I also felt bad for Henry's character. I was like, oh my God, dude, you're like
exactly
feels in love with this girl and she loves you, but does she love you? I don't think she does. I think she's like loving the idea of moving on and how you make her feel, but she's obviously not over her ex. Like,
yeah, or like pretending he's you.
Yeah, that was crazy. And especially after they like had sex for the first time and she like cries while she's like sick. Like that was a lot.
It was really sad. I mean, I thought that like during that part when she like said the ex's name and called him that, and I was like, oh my God, he was still so supportive after that though. That was like the interesting thing too. But like you said, I think like he was head over heels in love with her and she just didn't feel the same.
And then I'm like, oh, I'm sure he'll get to the point where he's like, that's enough. This is enough. Like, I'm sick of this. But like,
it was also though how that was supposed to be his first time there. And he went upstairs, opened the door, went right in right away. But then again, I mean, he also stalked her. So.
Yeah, well, as you all can guess, they basically ended up breaking up. and they went through the rest of the year, and then they dropped the final newspaper. He did his last, little article, which Becca mentioned, which was really good and insightful.
But she took the semester off, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, she wasn't editing anymore.
Yeah. AKA, I don't want to see you anymore,
But in the end, they avoid each other, obviously. Like, he doesn't want to run into her. He's trying to get over her. Finally, at the end, it's the last day of school, and they run into each other. She looks gorgeous. I mean, not that that totally matters, but she went from, like, frumpy wearing her ex's clothes to, like, actually wearing her normal clothes, and she had her hair done and her makeup done, and she was like, how are you? They had this nice little conversation, and she mentioned that she was going to therapy. She's like, I just am keeping going to therapy and I'm doing a lot better. And you could just tell that they're both in different places, but they both like definitely learned something from each other, although it was totally different things. Like he learned that about his first love, and she learned how to get better from meeting him. So although they didn't end up together, I thought that it was kind of like a good little ending. Nothing crazy like, you'd expect, but definitely a cute little ending.
I thought it was really cute how she snuck. I guess we didn't mention it at the beginning, but at the beginning of the movie, she gave him a book of poetry. And there's this one poem that had a bigger meaning to them in the relationship than any of the other poems. And I guess when they broke up, he was just so heartbroken. He like went to burn that piece of paper with the poem on it and put it on the ex's grave. And obviously our girl visits her ex-boyfriend all the time, and she grabbed it and she put it in his pocket at the end when she was giving him a hug, pretty much saying like, keep this, like you shouldn't forget about this time in our lives together. And I was like, oh, that was kind of cute. And that's what I like about it. Sometimes they don't end up together at the end. Becca, do you have anything you want to add?
Okay, do you guys know how in every movie, kind of serious movie or something like that, where there's one line that you just can't help but start laughing at? Yes. Because this movie had me dying when they were in their abandoned little house building thing at the koi pond, and she goes over to the wall where there's some graffiti, and she goes, I used to be a vandal when I was 14. I'm like, oh, you're so bad. When you were 14, you wrote on some walls. And then she's like confessing it. And she's like, what, maybe 17? Like 3 years ago, she was this big bad vandal. I was laughing so hard.
That's hilarious.
Dude, yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, we did really bad things like that too when we were 14. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. So first, before we look at the Google ratings, Rotten Tomatoes and all that stuff, I need to hear what you guys are giving it. So I will go first, and I am going to unfortunately give it a 5.8. Who's next? Oh. Let's do Anna, because I think Anna's going to be higher.
Actually, you'd be surprised. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I feel like maybe this generation will appreciate it better. Like if you're like actually living in that time frame, like you're actually a teenager right now. Kind of like we enjoyed Perks of Being a Wallflower when it came out in the movie. Like, maybe this is
relate to it a little bit more. Yeah. Becca?
Okay, and I gave it a solid 5.0, baby. It was not my cup of tea. I definitely
Oh, really? I didn't know.
I definitely like seeing Lili Reinhart, and it wasn't like the worst movie. I'm not mad that I watched it. But yeah, I don't know. Just some things I could not get past.
Yeah. But Cass, tell us, what do the critics say? What does the public say, honey? Hit us with the facts.
All right, so I'll start with the Rotten Tomatoes. It got a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Which sounds like about what our average might be.
Yeah.
And then the percentage of people who liked this movie via Google is 88%, which is a lot higher than I would have thought.
Yeah, definitely.
And so
I also feel like those kind of scores with this type of genre of movie, the genre I'm making up, but I feel like that's pretty typical. I don't know why, but
yeah, that's very true, because the amount of people who watch it are probably not going to be, they'll probably be around our age too, but they probably won't be older than us, I would think.
And let's be real, this kind of movie it's not like it's brand new, it's not revolutionary, it's been done so many times.
Yeah.
Which is why I think critics will always be like, this isn't new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. So after adding up our average for the TriHard girls is a 5.9.
I think this might be
pretty
our
on par though with Rotten Tomatoes.
No, definitely. But I will say that I don't recommend it for people. I mean, it has a D in my book. I know it's on Prime, so if you're interested, go ahead. But I would say like this one TriHard doesn't improve.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, if you got nothing to do and you're really super curious because you're listening to us, sure, why not? But I mean, it's definitely not something I'd be like, go watch it. So overall, I probably would say not this TriHard approved.
Yeah, I don't think I'd watch it again, but I feel like if you want to watch it, go watch it. I feel like if you're of the age of the demographic, go watch it. If not, bye.
But if you are, younger and you are watching it, just know it's never okay to stalk.
Also, use the condom.
Yeah.
Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, please wrap it before you tap it and enjoy the ride.
And with that, we want to say thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed. Make sure if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify that you give this a 5 out of 5 star rating because we deserve it. Thank you. Make sure you are following us everywhere at the TriHard Girls. TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Triller now. So make sure you check us out on Triller because we are just getting more booked and more busy with all these apps that we are going to be taking over our old millennial asses. We're going to be there getting it in because we're hip, we're cool with the Gen Zers. So make sure you follow along and make sure you follow us on our personals at McFarbeck,
At Cass Kardash.
At A Caroline 19.
And with that, the TriHards are
out.